Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Racha HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you, I say Shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, coming at you with another lesson. This one's going to be entitled, pretty much according to Esau, life is the problem, right? And I got a video I want to play and an article I want to bring out, just to state that point because, as we've been seeing, through this World Economic Forum, uh, which are really like the mouthpiece of these top elite, when you watch these videos, you get the little, taste of how these people think, and really what their plan is moving forward in the future, in this new world order that they have in mind. But one thing is that, is them trying to cull the flock, what I'm saying? Trying to reduce the numbers of the population, because pertaining to their what they call it, the Georgia Guidestones, the one they blew up, um, I believe it was a couple years ago. But I remember on that monument, it said, you know, pretty much laws to operate in balance with the earth, right? And one of the laws was to bring population down to 500 million, So if you're going to do that, the population will have to be cut down by like 8 billion, 7.5 billion, something like that, So there's a lot of people that have to die in order to fulfill, that quote unquote balance that they have in mind, right? And the same talking points keep coming up, carbon footprints, how the earth is overpopulated, global warming, resources running out, different things like that, just pertaining to the point that, you know um, the earth is unsustainable at the rate that it's going, right? And we understand why. It's ultimately because Esau Edom is in control. This man has looted, pillaged, and stripped the earth from all its minerals and resources, and now he's trying to point the finger at, oh, it's the population, and using science and different statistics to back him up, which is nothing but another way to divert accountability, and to point the finger and blame at someone else or something else, right? But I want to play this video real quick. This is from the World Economic Forum. Just a 3-minute video, and then I'll get the article and we'll get some precepts. Lord willing, this be edifying. So let's go ahead and play this.
We tend to think only about financial capital, about cash, financial assets, but we know that's not the only value on which our economies depend. We know that every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the oceans that we need for the food that we need to consume, the minerals that we need as inputs to technology and to infrastructure. And without these forms of value, these forms of natural capital, we won't have economies. They are the fundamental building blocks of our economies. But the ways, as you said, the ways in which we have grown our economies, our models of economic development, have been incredibly successful for global prosperity. But the unintended consequences of the current models of growth are simply not sustainable on a finite planet. The amount of resource that we are drawing into our economies, Earth's resources, and the amount of pollution and waste that we're pumping out, whether that's through greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's sewage into our water, whether it's plastics into the ocean, is beyond the Earth's carrying capacity. And we know that that's leading, as you said, to very significant direct impacts for society, but very significant financial costs for the economy. We can look at that as you have and calculate that at a macro level. But the way that that's showing up as we're breaching these boundaries and breaching these limits and undermining nature is showing up in very practical ways that are showing up for financial risk for institutions. Lack of water is leading to disruption of operations, of supply chains, where water is needed as an essential input for manufacturing.
And I'm gonna pause it right there real quick, because why is that? Talking about lack of water, and as I'm gonna get in this article that I'm gonna pull up here soon, they talk about how there's pretty much a crisis or, somewhat in a lack of fresh water or a lack of water, you know, and it's all because of these, what they call them, data centers. They've been popping up all around the world. They say that it can pretty much take in a day's worth of use. You know, the amount of water that is required is the same amount as a small city. A month's worth of a small city is what is required to operate these data centers for one day. You know, and it's just ridiculous, man. Whenever they really come down to it, because um, here it is. This man is operating in an imbalanced manner, you know, on as far as him, creating his businesses and creating new technology and shit like that. He what he's doing is he's stripping the pretty much destroying the earth. You know what I'm saying? He's destroying the earth, and then at the same time, saying, "Oh, it's because of this, it's because of that, it's global warming, it's overpopulation, it's cows, too many cows farting in the damn air." You know what I'm saying? All this fucking nonsense, you know. But yet, the scriptures talk about how the Most High, in Genesis, when He created everything, He said, Yahweh, or the angels, the Elohim, said that everything is good, right? It is good, right? So everything was supposed to, the natural process that animals, humans, what I'm saying, all the living creatures, the plant life, right? The way it operates in its natural form, is good, right? Is a natural cycle that goes on, what you call the cycle of life or whatever, right? That everything recycles itself. You see, but with Esau here, he creating plastics, he's GMO foods, not applying the land Sabbath over what do they call it? Whenever they kill animals, to the point of almost extinction, deforesting so many natural rainforests. Like it's just it's out of hand, man. You see, and then they create little forums and you know uh, uh, um, places of discussion, to try to come up with solutions. But the solution is to get you out of power. Put the true people that are beneficial for the planet in power, right? Which are the so-called Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, starting with the elect, right? And that's gonna happen. That's why the end is here. And this is why we're seeing the fall of Esau Edom. We're seeing him, operate in haste in a manner where nothing makes logical sense, right? Nothing is uh, um, looking like it's gonna work. There's no wisdom. The scripture talk about, is there any more wisdom in Teman, right? When you look at this man now, you're like, everybody's looking at him like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about, man? What is you doing? Nothing is adding up. But that's because you have a child in the seat of a king. You see, and the true rulers of the planet are about to be put into that seat where everything's going to be able to run in its proper balance, right? Everything will be able to flourish. Life will be allowed to, you know, uh, uh, um, reign. Pretty much, life will be allowed to flourish on the planet Earth once again. But with Esau Edom, we see that he has a war against life. Where you have all these things, famine of water, and it's all caused due to this man mismanaging the resources, mismanaging everything. And then trying to cover up lies and creating different disasters, and you know what I'm saying, just it's just ridiculous, man. I mean, there's really no words to put it, but the point being is that this man is the source of the problem, right? But let me finish this out. I don't want to get, I don't want to jump the gun too much. Let me go ahead and finish this out, and we get that next article.
Or power production. The degradation of soil is leading to reduced agricultural yields. The decline of pollinator species is also.
See, she said degradation of soil, man. See, this is why the laws, statutes, and commandments are required for life uh, uh um to be allowed, you know what I'm saying, to grow, to be allowed to flourish on the planet Earth. You see what I'm saying? The fact that these people, they don't operate on how the Most High designed things to work shows you that these people are not fit for rulership. They got to be taken out of power, man. All right, let me finish this out.
Having an impact on agriculture. So that's leading to direct financial risks for organisations, for businesses, and ultimately for investors. And as you said, ultimately the reason for this is at the moment the way that decisions are made on an everyday level within businesses and financial institutions is because we're looking only at financial data, financial metrics that are not factoring in nature. Nature is treated within the economy as though it's unlimited and predominantly as though it's free. And the risks and harms.
No, this is how these people don't care. These Edomites, they don't give a shit. They don't care. Like you said, all they see is a financial gain. They don't really see it as, you know, if I do this, you know what I'm saying, like, if, like these motherfuckers taking lobsters, out of the ocean, shrimp out of the ocean, taking catfish out of the lakes, and then selling them, not knowing that these creatures were created to serve a purpose in the ecosystem, right? Which is to clean the water, clean the floors of the river, of the lake, of the ocean. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty much the you can say the garbage men of the ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? But these people, they grab them up and they sell them to make profit. Create these things to be, what's that word? Delicacies. And now you have everything just operating out of balance. You see? This is what happens whenever you don't apply the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. Right? You have havoc, chaos, disimbalance, right? Or Salakia, an imbalance, right? Which creates a chain reaction of problems. You see? But if you were to just start off in the first place applying the law, statutes, and commandments, you wouldn't have none of these problems. Right? But let me continue playing it.
Simply not costed in financial terms. We can cost them at a macro level. They're not costed into day-to-day decision making. And the result is, as a consequence, we've put all of our economies at fundamental risk. We can't do business on a dead planet. If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions is to bring nature onto the balance sheet, to bring nature into the ways that decisions are made within business, to allocate a value to it and to bring it into accounting and financial mechanisms.
Right. And I guarantee you she's not talking about, oh, we got to remove, data centers. We got to remove, you know, what do you call it? Petroleum powered vehicles. We got to remove, GMO foods. We gotta, do different things, what I'm saying, that Esau has already in place, to sustain his economy and his society. No, she ain't talking about that. She's talking about, reducing the population, right? And of course, you don't say that, but these World Economic Forums, they stated it time and time again. As a matter of fact, a person named Bill Gates, mentioned it in one of his TED talks, right? And where he kind of hinted at how the population has to be reduced in order for everything to operate in a more balanced way, right? And like I said, I got this article. Let's see, right here. This is from ScienceAlert.com. It says Earth's population has surpassed the planet's capacity. Study suggests. You see, that's the mindset of these people, man. Like they're saying, this Earth is overpopulated. It's too many people. It's too overcrowded. But yet, when you look at the Middle East here in the United States, it's majority empty. Majority of the places are empty. It's just select places that's very popular, like cities, right? Certain areas, are heavily populated, where everybody wants to go to, right? There's enough land for everybody. But Esau likes to paint it as though, there's no land for nobody. There's not enough land for people, right? But yet he has enough to go, create missiles and create ammo for his weapons, for his guns, right? Uh, uh um, what else? For his AI system that he's trying to put in place. The whole um, what do you call them, data centers, right? It's enough for that, but not for the people though. Not for life. Not for the animals. See what I'm saying? That's where this man's got to go, man. That's why the scriptures say, how his soul is not upright in him. As a matter of fact, let me see. That's in Habakkuk. Let me get that first. Habakkuk. Bear with me. Habakkuk 2 in verse 4, it says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. You see, this man is not right, man. This man is not right in the head. He ain't, he's insane. He's insane in the membrane. This man's out of here, man. What's this guy talking about? Talking about eating, because I believe it was like a couple years ago they were talking about, and I believe they're still talking about it even to this day. Talking about what's that shit? Eating, worms, eating roaches, or not roaches. What was it? Crickets and grasshoppers and shit. Right. That's the reason why he's creating, these GMO foods and, what I'm saying, everything's artificial, everything's synthetic, right? Lab grown meat. But really, the reason why, Esau, is trying to do all this is to have control of what you eat, to further have control and to further oppress the people. Again, this is all the process of him trying to cull the population, reduce the numbers, because he understands that by eating this shit, you know, can down the line have you develop certain cancers, right? And then bring the population to a certain, or bring the population down to a certain degree, to where people can't afford healthcare, can't afford just different things that people need, people require. Eliminating the use of the herbs and you know the homeopathic remedies, right? Having you to rely on his pharmakia, which doesn't cure anything. All it does is just, you know, relieve a symptom, but then create other symptoms, right? Which would require you to take other pills and have you in this disimbalance, state in your body, or this imbalanced state in your body, to where you're constantly having to go back and forth to the doctor, getting shots, getting this, getting that, having to get surgery. You know what I'm saying? It's just which brings you, which brings us to them eventually, trying to implement something under your skin, which is the RFID chip, to track your, your your health. I mean, that's what they're going to push it as. They're going to push it as, oh, it's beneficial for you. We can track your health. We can be able to, monitor your vitals and you know, see if something's wrong before it happens, you know, all this shit. But this is all just it'll all just be a Trojan horse to get you to submit, get you to um, be pretty much uh, monitored and controlled, and you know, pretty much be branded as one of their property, man. That's ultimately what it is, right? But anyway, let me go ahead and read this. I want to read a little bit in this, and then we'll get some precepts. So again, it says Earth's population has surpassed the planet's capacity. Study suggests. It says the human population has already grown too large and demanding for Earth to sustainably support current consumption levels. A new study warns. Based on more than 2 centuries of population data, a team led by Corey Bradshaw of Flinders University in Australia found humanity is living well beyond the bounds of what our planet can support long term. Ecologists describe the ability of an environment to sustain a species population is as its carrying capacity. It's an estimate of the number of individuals from any given species that can survive long term based on the resources at hand and the rate at which those resources regenerate. Our own species, Homo sapiens, is particularly good at pushing the limits of what that carrying capacity might be, with our penchant for finding technological solutions to overcome the natural limitations of resource renewal, especially by exploiting fossil fuels. Let me go scroll down. I want to skip a little bit here. Let me see. Right here. So it says the gap between their optimum number of 2.5 billion and our current population size of 8.3 billion may help explain the problems with overconsumption our species currently faces. So right here, I was reading this earlier. They're pretty much saying how the population has to be cut down to 2.5 billion, at the current rate that people are using resources to bring it down to a manageable balance, so to speak. But it says, for instance, in January this year, the UN announced the world is in a state of water bankruptcy. Right? Isn't that what she said? Right? We're running out of water. Right? It says animal populations are crashing due to their inability to compete with us for resources or to keep with our appetite or to keep up with our appetites. Saying the animals are dying off. Right? We're eating too much chicken. We're eating too much cows. Right? Like it says, water bankruptcy. But yet, who are the ones that are constantly polluting the water? Dumping all these chemicals and all these train derailments that happened a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? Who the hell is building all these damn uh, um, um, data centers that are using up hundreds of thousands of gallons of water per day? Right? It says our reliance on fossil fuels to increase Earth's carrying capacity in the short term to create the fertilizers that feed our crops. For instance, right? Talking about the fertilizer, man. Like I said, just apply the land Sabbath, right? Do a year where you don't grow no crops, right? Grow the year previously, grow enough for the next year, so then that year you won't have to use up, you won't have to sow the land or till the land to where, you're constantly using it up to where you're draining it. The soil needs time for it to regenerate, the resources regenerate, because the earth regenerates just like your body regenerates. Well, the earth needs time for it to regenerate as well, man. You're constantly pushing your body to its limit, giving it no rest. You're gonna break at some point. You see. But it says, and to power our busy lives is obviously not panning out too well for us either. Fossil fuels are also driving human caused climate change that is disrupting ecosystems and natural resources globally. Notably, the study suggests variations in global temperature anomaly, ecological footprint, and total emissions are better explained by increasing population size than by increasing per capita consumption. The planet's life support systems are already under strain, and without rapid shifts in how we use energy, land, and food, billions of people will face increasing instability, Bradshaw says. Our study shows that these limits are not theoretical but unfolding right now. Right. So this is what they're saying, right? Let me read a little bit more actually. It says, but while the study paints a rather suffocating picture of human life on Earth, the researchers say time is not up yet. The Earth cannot sustain the future human population or even today's without a major overhaul of social cultural practices for using land, water, energy, biodiversity, and other resources, the study's author writes. Right, so pretty much what they're saying is that they're going to have to, implement that carbon tax, right? Which is where the MOTB comes into play, right? This new system that they have in plan will, that's going to be their solution, to Earth's pollution, right? That's going to be what brings everything, to the balance, have everything on a data sheet and on a damn what's it called? Uh, what's that shit called? Not a pie chart, pretty much a graph chart, whatever the fuck they call it, right? To where they're able to see who spends what. You spend too much, okay, we're gonna have to cut you down, for next month. Next month you ain't gonna be able to use this much no more. You know what I'm saying? Or we're gonna tax you or whatever they're gonna do, right? Even if you're constantly using too much, we're gonna just eliminate you out of the system forever. We're gonna cut off your chip, right? This is what they have in mind, right? You can look at different I believe it's what was it? What was that movie? What was that TV show? Black Mirror. Black Mirror. That goes into a lot of that. Society of what's it called? Trying to think of the term. I keep forgetting these terms. Um, Social credit score. And how they have everybody's is C hipped up. You know, and how you can get cut off from society. Or different things. You know what I'm saying? But the point being is that they're bringing the problems to the forefront. They're telling you this is a problem, this is a problem, right? Because Esau likes to operate off of problem reaction solution. So here's a problem. Population is going to start reacting, in a way to where we need a solution, and here they come. They're going to come up with a solution, right? And like I said, the solution is going to ultimately end up being bringing in that new world order and having everybody see it hipped up, right? As our apostles and elders always say, all roads lead to the MOTB, right? This is what these top elite have been dreaming of. This is what the ultimate end game is for Esau, right? Now, like I said earlier, the reason why everything is happening because this man, this man is unfit for rulership. This man is constantly destroying the planet, constantly polluting the air, polluting the water. Everything is destroyed because of this man. Because Jake don't have the resources to go out here, and do all this shit that this man is doing, trying to block the sun by spraying all kinds of aerosols in the air, all types of chemicals and heavy metals in the air, and then they're raining that on top of your heads, having you breathe it in and go and fall on your skin and shit, and at the same time it's going into your water and you're drinking it up. It's going into your food, right? All these pesticides, it's all kinds of shit, man, that this man's got going on. It'll take forever just to name everything. So as it says here in Revelation 11 and 18, it says the nations were angry and that wrath has come in the time of the dead that they should be judged and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, right? Because that reward is coming, right? And the nations are going to be angry because they feel like they're going to have next, but they ain't. It says it in Second Ezra 6:9, right? Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So we got next in line, right? Lord willing, we be of that elect number that receiveth the reward, right? But um, it says, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. Who's that them? Talking about these Edomites, right? These Edomites are the main reason why the earth is in the condition that it's in. I mean, just look at their track record. When you go back during the time when they were fighting Gad, what they do? They went off and massacred a whole entire, like the population of the buffalo was cut down so drastically that they ended up becoming an endangered species. And back then, there were plenty of buffalo back then, right? Gad used to hunt them down, as their main source of meat, that and turkey. But the point being is that this man just goes around just destroying shit, man. But that's his MO, right? When you're reading Revelation 6, this is the reason why this man was created. Revelation 6:3, it says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, right? Red. Because when you look at the name of Edom, Edom means red, right? And it all ties together, right? So this red horse is Esau, Edom. It says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. See, so his whole reason of being here was to take peace from the earth, to kill, to destroy, right? And he's doing a good job, man. That's what he's been doing, ever since he came out the cave, right? He got into power and just went out creating wars, taking peace from the earth. Here it is, Gad was living, in relative peace here in America. Not just Gad, but even the other northern kingdoms. I mean, northern tribes, right? The rest of the tribes, they were living peacefully, man. And here comes Esau, with his colonial, capitalist, demonic spirit, wanting to take everything. And as the scripture says, how he can't be satisfied, right? As a matter of fact, let's get that. That's in Habakkuk 2 as well. Habakkuk 2 in verse 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. You see? So this man, his thirst is unquenchable. Enough is never enough with this man, right? It's so much so that this man, really the top elite, they've been living, this lavish lifestyle for so long that the next step for them is immortality. That's what they have in their mind. They want to be God, right? They want to sit in the seat of God. You see? So again, enough is never enough with this man. But it says, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. That's right. That's why you see America, as it is, this big melting pot, And like I said, this man wants everything. Everything and everything else and everything in it. Right? Now let me see. Let's get this. Right? Because it's, in that article he mentioned how the earth is overpopulated. Well, in the scriptures in Genesis, right, 1 and 27, what does it say? It says, so the Most High created man in his own image, right? In the image of the most, or Salakia. So the Alahayim, right? That word right there for God is actually Alahayim, right? Which is plural, which means angels, judges, rulers, right? It says, so the Alahayim created man in their own image. In the image of the Alahayim created he them, or created they him. Male and female created they them. Verse 28. And the Alahayim blessed them, right? And the Alahayim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. So be fruitful and multiply. You see, that was one of the first commandments given to man. Be fruitful and multiply, right? Fill the earth. You see? But what is this man saying? Oh, y'all, there's too many of y'all here. We got to cut the numbers down. Stop overpopulating. That's why some of that, the juicy juice, the gay people, made people infertile, right? So they won't be able to reproduce. You see, but it says, and have dominion over the fish and over the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth, right? And he even said that to the animals too, right? I can't remember where it's at. Right here, Genesis 1:21. It says, and the Alahayim created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And the Alahayim saw that it was good, and the Alahayim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. You see? So everything was created to multiply, right? Even the trees, the plant life, the herbs, the fruit trees, right? The vegetables, everything, was made to reproduce abundantly, right? That's why you see, back then, in the early 2000s, you had watermelons that had, seeds, and they had a bunch of seeds, with one watermelon, here it is, you buy one watermelon from the store, you collect the seed, you'll collect like at least 100 seeds in one watermelon, enough to plant them, and then boom, you got 100 watermelon plants, right? You get a cantaloupe, you have all them cantaloupe seeds. You get a banana, you get the banana seeds. There's so many things, man. Everything was created to reproduce, right? To multiply. The Esau is changing it up to where everything is sterile. Everything, you know, uh, uh, um, pretty much can't reproduce. You see? Let me see. Let's get this. Let's get Proverbs. And like I said, most of these problems that they're explaining that are problems, which they are problems, but who is the actual true culprit behind these problems? Is Esau Edom, right? The reason why the air is all fucked up is because of, or so much carbon right in the air, is because motherfucker, you're deforesting all these rainforests over there in the Congo jungle, in the Amazon jungle, even a lot of the trees over here, a lot of the places that Jake lives at, there's barely any trees out here, man. And over here, in America, even over here on the east coast of America, it is known that this place used to be filled with trees when Gad used to roam here, man. So what the fuck is it talking about? What the fuck are they talking about, man? Everything was good before you crackers came over here and decided to take over shit. But anyway, let me read this. Proverbs 14 and verse 28. It says, in the multitude of people is the king's honor, but in the want of people is the destruction of the prince. That's right, man. You see, so by you having a large population, hey, that should be an honor to you. That should be you expanding your empire, right? You having more, servants. You having, more abundance. But this man wants to cut his population down to 500 million. I mean, come on, man. But you see, what he wants is robots. You know, that shows you how demented this man is, because no one, what this man can't do is have people alongside him, because this man is, like I said, his soul is not upright in him, so he can't command a wielding presence in front of people, and have people back him up, and have people, stand beside him, and fight for him. Uh, uh, um, like, for example, like King David, was able to, because Esau is just a wicked ass motherfucker, man. He has to do everything subtly. He has to manipulate people. He has to do these little, tactics in order to gain power, right? And be able to manipulate the masses into doing what he wants, all through lies and subtlety, right? But anyway, let me see. So it shows you right there, right? How you need a pop, you need a you need servants, man. You need subjects in your kingdom. What kind of king are you? What are you going to be king of if you don't have no population under you? You see. But anyway, let me see. Um, let's get this, because not only is he, talking about reducing the population. He's actually actively doing so. This is Ecclesiasticus 10 and verse 3. It says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And how's he destroying the people? I mentioned it earlier, about putting out their GMO foods, putting different poisons and chemicals in your, in these different packaged foods, processed foods, right? A lot of the stuff that's here in America are banned in the UK and all these other countries. Why is that? Because they found out, they done the research and saying that a lot of this stuff that's in your food is fucking poisonous. It's cancerous. What they call it, carcinogenic. You see? But anyway, it says, verse 4, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. Right? Because this man is not profiting shit. Right? This man is not profitable unto the earth, unto life, unto the earth's creation. I mean, the Most High's creation, Salakia. This man is destroying everything. This is the reason why, it says in Matthew 24 and verse 22, it says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So if this man continues to go on in this, path of destruction and death and pollution and continual poisoning of the people, there's gonna be nothing to be saved, man. The animals are gonna die, the trees are gonna die, the plant life is gonna be dead, right? There's gonna be nothing left to save. I mean, in this man's mind, like, I mean, I really don't know what the hell he really plans, but all I can picture is, I don't know if you like, y'all brothers watched that movie, The Matrix, whenever Morpheus is showing Neo, you know, how the Earth really is, right? And it's all complete wasteland, the clouds in the sky, thunderstorms, and everything is just fucked up, nuclear fallout, and then there's just robots just raining on the surface. It's like that's what it seems like that's what Esau wants, right? Everything's destroyed and robots reign the earth. See? So that's why it says, except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. See, so the Most High has to speed this up, has to bring in Yahweh Shah, and has to, put the true rulers in the position of power to reverse all this decay, all this destruction, all this death, right? Because otherwise, that'll be it for the Lord's creation. This man if this man were allowed to just reign forever, Earth would pretty much be dead, right? But let me see. As a matter of fact, that'll be it, man. That's it. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. I pray the lesson was edifying. Close it out by saying, Kahalayim La, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom, Kwam Yasha Allah.